Hey, what's up guys? I'm Dave, in case some of you don't know me by now, that's a problem. We're going to be talking to you guys about stand-up comedy. So far this presentation's done well, New York Times liked it, New York King liked it, everyone liked it. So I'm going to be talking about stand-up comedy, and in particular the first time doing stand-up comedy for me at the University of Maryland. And then I'll try to tie it back into communication if I can, if I have time. It's crazier than a pack of wolves trying to open a can of baby oil. It's pretty crazy. So I'm going to be talking about, well, here's the quick overview. We're going to talk about my background, my foreground, the giraffes have black tongues and low self-esteem, alternate rules of monopoly, Big Bird is a boy, not a girl, Ernie is Dominican, and I was just annoying, fashion styles of the 1880s, and illegal spiritual activities. So let me break it down for you. I'm going to talk a bit about my history. At high school, I created the high school's first and only comedy group. They're now ranked first and second in the state of Connecticut. I also gave advice in high school. People say this opinion worth much less over time as the economy declines. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Remember that? That's going to come back. A rose is a rose is a rose is a rose, unless that horse is red. In college, I joined the Bureau, which is the comedy group here on campus, stand-up, sketch, and improv. I do all three. Right now, I'm the president and administrative director of the group. The first time I did stand-up on stage, I'll get back to that later, was for a competition called the DC's Funniest College Competition. I got third place. This year I did it again, got first place. Went to the finals this past Wednesday. Did I win? No. You guys have. Work experience, I performed in Maryland and DC. I performed in New York City at the Comedy Cellar. I worked at Gotham Comedy Club. I got to meet Daryl Hammond, Pablo Francisco, Daniel Tosh, and the entire British cast of Whose Lines Are Anyway? So by New York City, having my parents' basement. Like, this is all jokes. Being a comic, Garfield is a really funny comic. I thought you should know. But check out Garfield minus Garfield. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but it's really funny. It's what happens when you take Garfield out of the comic strip, it goes back to funnier. And so it's now about John Arbuckle psychosis. I'm officially bored. It's not much funnier. So I'm trying to let you know that you're in good hands. That's why I'm talking about my history. So now we're going to talk about standing up for the first time. So standing up for the first time hurts the ankles. You got wobbling knees, things like a newborn, though, that's Bambi on ice. The first time I ever did stand up in front of anyone was for a D Phi E, or Delta Phi Epsilon, it's a sorority here on campus. They hired me for $50 to do stand up for 5 minutes. I was hired because my friend Lauren used to go to camp with me. And she found out that I was in the comedy group here on campus, so she invited me and 3 of my friends from the Bureau to come and perform. So it was the best of times, it was the worst of times because I was performing for a bunch of girls. I was a fly Charles Dickens. Remember, one of the hand is worth 2 in the bush. And I was trying to fly that nut. There eventually was a group of girls. That's one disclaimer about this whole thing. It was a group of girls. It's a completely different audience than just anyone. Because when you're performing for a group of girls, when you're performing for anyone, it doesn't matter really what you say. But when you're performing for a group of girls, not only do you want to make them laugh, okay, but you're trying to win them over, you know? Like I'm a freshman guy, and they're a group of girls that I don't know yet, you know, so I'm trying to fly that nut. So being scared, you know, I was really nervous and excited at the same time. My punchlines came prematurely. It wasn't me, it was the situation. But, you know, like, I didn't really know what to expect. It was just kind of like an internet channel. But basically what happened was, I didn't know what they were going to set up for me because they hired me to do stand-up comedy, okay? So I go in there and I'm thinking, well, maybe there's a mic, a stage, lights. No, there's nothing. I'm standing in their living room talking to them as they sit around me, and it's very interesting. So here's some Confucius sayings. It's kind of fun. Man standing on a toilet is high on a pot. Man who run in front of car get tired. Man who run behind car get exhausted. Man who gives mouse cookie regrets it. Man who sit on the cat get blind. Just, you know, some extra stuff. So what actually happened? After all that, it was completely not what I was expecting, and they made me go first. So I was talking in front of a group of girls. We had never done this before for a sorority. So what I talk about, I first had my greetings, I had my salutations, if you will. That led into Charlotte's Web. I talked about what it would be like if I had a spider to advertise for me. You know, if I could just have a spider right on, you know, between the door jamb, anything for me. And then how I know Lauren from camp, the girl who hired me, bring it back to the group. And I'm sick of food just being another pyramid scheme that's just on my mind. Ties into communication. It doesn't. Do we have time? It does. Know your audience. It's all about knowing your audience, who they are, what tickles their fancy, being personable, and avoiding inarticulates. I was talking to them, and it's really about knowing them because, you know, if I know you know, a lot of girls that like Dane Cook, so I talked about the spider thing, about like random stuff. I got a fucking spider, okay? You know, that's Dane Cook sort of stuff. And then I also brought it back to them by talking about Lauren, you know, somebody who they like, they feel comfortable with, they already know, so that way it kind of eases them into me, getting to know me. Noise, there was a lot of noise. The one-way interaction went all wrong. Usually in stand-up, you're talking to the audience and that's it. This was completely off because it was me and the audience, but since there was no real division, no separation of you know, stand-up boundary, they talked back to me as after I told a joke. So I would say a joke, I'd say the Charlotte's Web thing, they would then start talking to me. And it's a good thing I did improv in the past because I was able to handle that well, but you know, it's shaky. One girl also took off her pants midway through my presentation. I'm not even kidding. It was really jarring. So appeals to their ethos, pathos, and caballeros. To their ethos, you know, I had to earn their respect. I had to, you know, be personable. Like, I want to make jokes, but I still want to, you know, earn their respect so I can come back another day. Pathos, again, I want to make them laugh. Again, I'm trying to fly that knot. Caballeros, I'm a guy. Let's face it, that's appeal. So here's the big finish. We're down to 5 minutes. It's all about the message. No matter what you're trying to do, if you're trying to tell a joke, if you're trying to persuade, you're trying to inform, it's all about how you want to form that message to shape it for the audience you're particularly talking to. So what do you want to accomplish? That's basically what you should be asking yourself every time you're talking in front of somebody for a stand-up. You know, like I did a competition for a bunch of adults. I did and the same competition for a bunch of kids. Talking to a group of girls, what do you want to accomplish talking to these people? And it's also about looking fly. You have to look. So thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it.